Hello. Um, it has been about like a month since my last upload, and I started working on my next video, but a lot of IRL things were going on, so I put it on hold for the time being. And recently, during a game showcase, there was a trailer for a game in the works called About Fishing, and this game piqued my interest. So I wanted to talk about it for a couple minutes, and after this video is done and uploaded, I will get back to working on the script for the bigger video that is going to take a little bit longer than this one. So as of this recording, the game About Fishing has not been released yet, but there is a demo out that you can play that gives a general idea of what is to come and the full release of the game. I won't go too much into spoilers for the demo, so if you're interested after watching this video, give it a try. The game revolves around a simple premise of fishing, selling, buying gear to expand your range of options for fishing, item management, and finding clues or doing quests for an overall story. And even after playing through the whole demo, it's very unclear as it takes the let's be weird but also serious route. From what I have seen, I'm not entirely impressed nor disappointed with what is to offer, mostly due to its pacing and weird out-of-place imagery that seems insignificant until proven otherwise. I doubt the devs will rewrite an entire plot and story considering the work and effort it takes to even make a video game. Changing a story and having to reanimate scenes, rework the coding, and pretty much everything else. So, what we have is what we will see. I just think the way it's done is very uncanny in a non-uncanny way. Like, this isn't Silent Hill or Twin Peaks, but I did still enjoy my time despite my gripes with the writing. I think the art style is very appealing, with the dithering similar to how Return of the Obra Dinn used it, and the detailed texture similar to the PS1 era of games, with its rustic, weathered look to everything. The strange layout of the town, where it is, like it's this in-between town that you drive past on the road, and you don't pay much attention to it. Everything seems run down and lived in, very much a like halfway abandoned look to it. The place feels dead. You are the only person for most of the game outside of interiors. There are people that you encounter, but they don't really do much outside of just existing for the player to talk to or to take quests from. It's almost alien with its loneliness. The fishing mechanic is entirely unique. It's not simulation, it's more like arcade, and for some people that might turn them off from playing this, but let me tell you, the way it works is really fun and engaging, or enraging at times too. When you cast your line, you can use your mouse to like flick it, and then you use the WSAD keys to move it around while it's in the water. Right click to keep the hook in place after you get certain upgrades, and left click to reel it in. Fish will be swimming aimlessly in the water, and when they make eye contact with the hook, it will start nibbling at it. Once it bites, you left click and then start reeling in the fish. You have to control the fish as you reel it in, and it will be fighting you. This constant back and forth tug of war makes finally catching it more rewarding when you reel in a big fish. This is the strongest part of the game, but like I said before, that it can be very enraging too at times. The controls and the way the fish works isn't exactly well explained. In fact, I am not actually sure if I'm really controlling the fish, or if that is what I'm supposed to do half the time. More often than not, I'm hearing the line about to break more than not, and you will break your line a lot. And sometimes it can be very frustrating when it happens. Sometimes when you cast your line and it lands on something like a tree, for example, you start reeling a fish in, and the fish will just get stuck on the tree. So the poor thing is just getting beaten into the tree branch like it's a Family Guy skit or something, and it can take a while if you aren't willing to just let it go like me. Another problem is the inventory management. When you are placing items, it feels very awkward to move stuff around, and that it has to do with the game hiding your cursor, making it disorientating to navigate. and the controls are a little weird at first, but you get used to it. Instead, they need to implement a better system of just click and drag to move the fish with the scroll wheel to rotate the fish while you are holding it. The dev tries to streamline the entire process, but I would much prefer a click and drag, click to select option system over the current one we have in the demo. The gameplay loop is however nice. It's just a simple buy and sell system with a few upgrades available, and smoking, of course. However, after my first session of the game, it bugged and no longer worked anymore, but it was pretty cool while it was there. And also, you have a few quests to do in the game as well, for you to discover. And I won't spoil how to do them in this, but let's just say that there is enough information there for you to figure them out. They are a nice way of changing up the pace to give something to work towards. There is a filleting minigame that has you cut each fish differently, and depending on how close you get to the cuts they want you to make, you get more money out of it depending on the rating you're given. If you mess up your cuts, you get a worse rating and turn in less money. So it's a rewarding system for having no short-term memory. Or you can just cheat and just take a screenshot. However, it's not perfect either, as there's many times I've gotten on the mark and did not get a perfect rating. But times where I wasn't and still got a perfect 5-star rating. So there needs to be some fixing for that. The fish themselves are really nice. I love how they move and their silly mouths opening and the blinking they do, except for when they're blinking during the filleting section. But they really feel like real fish to me, and you can even see some of them attacking the smaller fish. A really cool detail was during one of my catches, the line broke while I had a fish on the lily pad, and was able to cast my line out and recatch the fish to get them off of the lily pad. Each fish fights differently than the other, so they all feel different to catch. There is a nice variety here for the demo, and I hope to see more in the future for the full release. The game's notes page is really nice too. I hope the full game has more interactive ability with the notes, like they showed here. However, I fear that when the full game comes out, the game will be short, and if it is, then the pacing needs to be slower because it feels rushed right now, and the board is very filled up towards the end of the demo, so I hope that this game is longer than it's leading on to be. Overall, what was shown was a pleasant time, and it almost reaches a dream game status for me, but let me explain some changes I would make to this game for that to be the case. If I were a dev of this game, my wishlist or changes would be as follows. First, this game comes so close to being a spiritual successor to Shenmue, with its environment and homey feel to everything, especially your grandpa's room. This game immersed me into its world really well, like Shenmue did. I just want all the things that game does, and then some, and what I mean by this is a day and night cycle system, a sleep schedule with a potential to have little dreams that enrich the backstory and lore of the character. The home you are staying in is functional, with a working fridge for food and other things, as well as
this could be food for that kitten.
A working stove to cook food you catch or buy from the store. Maybe you can read the emails and play little games on your grandpa's laptop. Being able to win a TV for the living room from a raffle at the supermarket where you can plug in the Dreamcast you find. And you can play some games or something on there. Little gachapon machines to get little collectible versions of fish or something to have in your home. A first-person mode for interiors so the camera doesn't glitch outside of the map, and you can look at the world objects more easily. More fish equipment, like new rods and other stuff, like an upgrade for your tackle box where you can put your fishing lures and line to free up some inventory space. NPCs that walk around the town and go about their day, you can talk to them, maybe a newspaper to read talking about stuff going on in the world. Make the story slower paced and let us take our time on it. Have random quests that just show up for you to do. Like, for example, a bounty board for fish to get extra money. Also, having more outlets to spend your money is always good for games like this that have an economy that expects you to spend and buy. Not having more outlets for that money to work towards can make the game feel less stagnant, and is why games like Stardew or Terraria always feel rewarding. I just personally see this game more as a slow burn, patient game rather than a fully story-based game, and what is there for the story needs to be stretched out just because I want more reasons to keep playing. I think it would be really cool if you could make friends too along the way that you could hang out with and have fishing competitions with for fun, almost in like a Persona-like way. And an intro to show how you even get to the town would be nice too, which I hope they explain in the full release. I just really see the potential in this game, and I know that this is probably not going to happen, and it's going to be a 100% narrative-driven game. And the version of what the devs want to do for this game is different from what my own, as I always favor gameplay over complete narration, because, you know, I'm playing a video game and not an art piece for a gallery, but I understand that modern gaming is an outlet for artsy things, and some people can't express that with given conditions. And at the end of the day, it's not my game. I don't work on this game. I don't own this game. When I do these wish lists of ideas for improvements to a game, it has no real say in what the developers want. Rather, my own personal taste, if I were in the shoes, this is what I would have done. However, I am not a game developer, nor do I have the time to learn game development, so alas, it is what it is. But anyways, I think I need to explain why this game resonated with me so much, unlike other games in its genre. You probably don't know me, but I love the ocean, I love the water, and I love fishing. And it's thanks to my dad for giving me a passion for those things. Growing up, my grandpa owned a house by a lake that we would go down to his place and fish. My dad would teach me and my sister how to fish, and we would cast our lines out, sometimes hitting the trees, and the line would get stuck, and losing the worm or hot dog on a hook from waiting too long. And the fish know better, so they would just nibble on it instead. We also fished at a lake home a family member owned that we would go to every summer, and we would camp outside and pretty much just fish. We also owned a cabin growing up with a lot of land for hunting, but that didn't have any lakes on the land, and we also don't own that anymore, but that's a story for another time. Anyways, fishing requires patience, silence, and focus. Nothing to really do but to sit down and wait. As someone who has a short attention span and lives in a world where everyone needs to be glued to their phones, I choose to show discipline just like fishing. I take in the environment around me, I think about things and relax. I appreciate fishing for teaching me patience and reflection, like the water you stare at whilst waiting for a bite. Some people find it boring, sure, but the excitement of the catch and the fight for the fish is something that is earned through patience and silence. Ironically, despite me talking about fishing like I am an expert, my sister was always able to catch the bigger fish. I never have been able to catch big fish like she does. They just refuse to bite my hooks. Except this one time, when I was at my grandpa's place, everyone was fishing like usual, and I hadn't gotten any bites all day. And at some point, everyone left to go out driving or something, and I opted to stay because I wanted to try and catch something. So my dad and everyone else took off, except my grandpa's wife, which I'll just call her Becky. And when everyone left, I sat there waiting. And suddenly, of course, I had a bite, to my surprise. So I did what I was taught to do and pulled up to catch the hook in the fish's mouth, and then I tried my best to reel it in, but this thing was the strongest fish I'd ever had, and as a 7-year-old who was admittedly malnourished, I was struggling and it was starting to pull me towards the water. Now, at the time, I couldn't swim, mind you, and I did not have a vest on either, and I couldn't keep the fish in check as it kept thrashing my pole around like a rogue wave. So Becky had noticed and came out to try and help me with pulling it in, and I was so in disbelief that it was a fish at all, and Becky reassured me that it was definitely a fish on the hook. And unfortunately, whether it was because I was using a kid's fishing rod or maybe we were not properly fighting the fish, as I could not focus, I was too confused at the fact that I had even had anything to begin with. Becky, not really being a fishing expert, couldn't really do much either. The line broke and the fish got away, right when everyone and my dad came back too. So it was too little too late, and unfortunately I have not had an opportunity like that since. So the game threw me off when, in the very beginning of the game, your grandpa talks about a fish that he could just never catch. I was hooked into playing through the demo when I tried the gameplay afterwards. No fishing game has captivated me like About Fishing. No fishing simulator, Bass Hunter 64, none of them was as engaging as this game was for me. And I do plan on playing the full game on release despite the demo's flaws. I do recommend it and hope for the best. I spent a lot of time fishing with my dad and I will cherish those memories and hopefully many more to come. But it's because of my dad that I love fishing and I love the ocean. If there's anything you should take away from this video, is to be patient. Be patient with life, be patient to those around you. Be patient on that video or album you're working on that you keep putting off because you don't feel like doing anything after work. Be patient with yourself because you will always have time. And even those people around you tell you that you need to do this or do that because the clock is ticking and you only have so much time left on Earth. It's actually okay to slow down. The fish understand this. They live their lives one day at a time. Be like fish, and talk about fishing for a little bit while you're at it.